All right, my name is Mac, and I am a fast running coach here to get you faster and here to crush your first marathon. I recently coached Lily, who broke the 4 hour marathon barrier on her first try, and then Anna, 3:43. She's also another athlete of mine. That testimony is linked in YouTube if you want to watch it. But before we even get started, if you don't want to learn all this, you don't want to listen to this video that hopefully is not too long because I'm going to try and make it very succinct, give you the correct information that you need. Um, there's a private coaching link down below, and I will take care of all of this for you. You won't have to listen to all my YouTube videos. You could probably do it, but if you want to save some time and want to get more personalized, it's down below. Anyways, let's get started. I'm going to break it down week by week exactly what you need to be doing. So if you want to take some notes, I'd recommend it, or get out your phone and take some screenshots as I go through this. But we're gonna kind of go over an 18-week plan that I think would get you to a marathon completed successfully for your first marathon. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to go over is that to have a successful training plan, we have to plan ahead. If you don't plan ahead, you're just asking for an injury. So this is the framework that I came up with. It's called the 4 Bs of training. We have the base phase, the build, the breakthrough, and the burst. So real quick, base is like the foundation piece. Build is when we start kind of adding on, we add a lot more. Breakthrough is like twofold. This is where we break through and we get those fast paces where we're really hitting our stride. We're added a bunch of things on. And then this is also the part where you have probably most likely to get injured. So this is why we gotta be careful in this phase. And then the burst phase, this is where we taper, we feel really good, we're feeling fresh, and we get ready to pop off on our race. Okay, so we're gonna go through each phase, how long each one is, what you should include in weekly for that. So let's go into our base phase. So I'm gonna write a couple things down for you. So our base phase is our foundation. If you do not have a good base, just like a house, you're gonna crumble. So if you want a bigger, beautiful, taller house, you have to build that base so that it can withstand all the big, gorgeous things that you're gonna have on top. So if you wanna run really fast, you have to have a good, solid base foundation to build from. And that can also stack on for over years, how many training seasons that you've done. That is also almost your base too. But your base that I'm going to recommend for an 18-week plan, so you're starting and then 18 weeks hits your marathon. And if you're not perfect, like if you're watching this and you're kind of a little bit late, you can kind of start in a different phase, or you can shorten this and lengthen it a little bit, kind of depending. And I do want to make this caveat that this isn't like a one size fits all, but this is overall a good recommendation of a good starting point for you. And then depending on who you are, how much training you've done, all that stuff, you can kind of fiddle with the plan. So 0 to 6 weeks, your first 6 weeks I'm going to recommend is your base phase. So this is when we're going to add in hills. We're going to add in strength work. You can even include strides. And then this is also going to be where we increase mileage. Okay, so if you want to take a picture, you can take a pic. This is what you need. Okay, so I'm going to go through. So 0 to 6 weeks, I think, is about roughly what you probably need if you're a newer runner and this is your first marathon. I'm going to do like a fast marathon video. So if you're more advanced, this is kind of like you're not super new to running and this isn't your first marathon, go watch that instead. So 0 to 6 weeks, you are slowly going to be building up your mileage. You kind of want to start off with, I would recommend if you're newer, minimum, you probably could run 3 days a week. Max, if you're a newer runner, I would maybe stick around 5 days a week of running, like throughout your whole marathon training. I think perfect for a newer runner I would probably recommend 4, where you're not doing too much and you're not doing too little. So 4 days of running. And then in your build phase, I'll kind of go over what exactly each day should be. But when you first start out, like your first 2-3 weeks are just going to be easy miles. So that's going to be like 2, 3, 4 miles a day of running. And kind of when you know you're out of your base phase is when your conversational pace is consistent. It feels easy. You're not really having any like hard runs. Like you kind of figured out your easy pace almost, and you're not like having these like weird beginner starter runner pains. So then I would say maybe like towards the end of your base phase is when you can kind of start to add in your first workout, and that would be hill. So you want to if you don't know how to do a workout, I'm not going to go over it in this video. I am also posting a video on how to do a workout. Go watch that. I may link it here. I don't know. But how to do a workout, that will explain exactly how to do a workout. Please watch that if you don't know what a running workout is. So I'm going to suggest hills for your first one, and that is just finding a hill somewhere out that you can do. And you're going to run hard up it for about 30 to 45 to a minute. 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, and then you're going to jog slowly down the hill. And I would start off with like 4 to 6 reps, and then maybe come back next week or like every other week. I come back next week and then do maybe like 6 to 7 reps or 5 to 6, and slowly building up your reps and kind of slowly going up longer on the hills. And you can do hills anywhere from like 3 to 4 times in your base and almost into your build phase as well. And that builds strength, injury prevention, and I think hills are fun. It's a great kind of grindy workout, and this says that you have a lower chance of getting injured because it's almost like too hard to go like all out on a hill. So hills are a great first workout. You could also do progression runs, which is like a snowball, but I would say that to the very end of your base phase. And then the only other thing that I would recommend is strides. And you can do them once a week. I would probably only start doing them like when you get to the 4 week range is when you can start adding them in. But after 1 week, 1 run a week, you can add in a stride. So that's about like 60 to 80 meters. You start slow, you build up to like almost a sprint, and then you kind of peter out. So it's like a 15-second like build up. You take a breath, and then you do another one and do like 3 to 5 of those after run. And that just kind of gets you used to speed. It's kind of fun because it's new. But yeah, that's kind of a fun intro one that you can do. And then slowly increase your mileage every week. And you could probably go from like, if you're newer, you could probably increase your miles like every weekly, like every 4 miles when you're kind of early on. But kind of keeping mindful, if you're lower mileage runner, you might only do like increase your miles like 2. So you might start off with like 7 miles in the first week, and then you might do 9 miles the second week, then you might do like 12 the third week, and just kind of slowly building up. So that's your base phase. We're now going to move into your second phase, which is going to be your build. So the rest of the phases are going to be about 4 weeks long. So this one's going to be 6 to 10. That will be your build phase. Now, this is my favorite phase. So once you've established your base, please establish your base. Like if you do anything correct in this training plan, it has to be building your base, taking it slow, building a good base, not burning yourself. Like don't increase your mileage too fast. I would err on the side of doing too little because this will set you up for success later and not get you injured, and you can do more later. So 6 to 10 weeks. This is where you get to add in a workout a week. And then you add in a long run. And then we still increase our mileage. And then I'll kind of put a caveat there in a little bit. So now that we've entered the build phase, what I recommend, let's say you are running 4 days a week. One of them is going to be a workout. One of them is going to be a long run. One of them you're gonna, and then the other 2 are gonna be easy runs. And please keep these easy runs easy. This is the biggest mistake that most runners make, is that they just make every run like hard or moderately hard. Like you have to have easy runs because this keeps you from getting injured, and you actually can recover and like absorb that new training. Because if you're always beating yourself up, if you're always hammering the workouts, you're going to burn out and get injured. So please, I'm begging you, make sure you do your easy runs, okay? And then if you're doing 3, you could do workout, long run, easy run, and it almost make sure that your long run is like at easy pace. And it really should be for most parts. I'll give you like maybe later on the road where you could kind of tweak it a little bit. But this is where you get to add in your first workout. Again, please link the workout, the big 3 phases, just real quick. Prepare, execute, recover. So do your warm up, actually do the workout, and then recover. So that's like your warm up, easy run pace, doing your stretches before, doing the actual workout, do some strides before, some dynamics before the actual workout, and then recover. That's your cool down. And then stretching after. Um, so workouts. The first couple workouts that I would maybe recommend, if you're a newer runner, is gonna be either ones, fartlek, progression run. You could maybe do a couple like repeats, like 2-minute repeats, 4-minute repeats, stuff like that. But I would almost stay away if you're new from pace, because I think pace can do more harm than it can do good, especially when you're a newer runner. You almost like you honestly just don't know how fast you can be, and I think putting numbers and paces on you early on almost limits your ability, because when you kind of just running off a feel, you also get to know your body better, and you can kind of like break through that ceiling that you almost had. So I would stay away from paces personally. That's my like philosophy as a run coach, when you're newer and when you're in like early season build. Okay, then your long run. This is going to be the most important run of the week if you are a marathoner. If you're more like half marathon, I would say it's still important, but like 10K and under, your long run isn't as important. Your workouts are going to be more important. And if you're trying to get really, really fast, your workouts become even more important. But if you're trying to finish a race, that's like your main goal, your long run becomes the most important. So, I would say I would start off around like 6 miles as your long run. And usually what we want to do is about every week you increase it about like 2 miles, maybe 1 mile. For this plan, I'm gonna give you every two, increase it every two. And I think so start out at 6 weeks, you're gonna do a 5 mile long run, increase it every 2 miles, and that'll get you to top out at 21 weeks. And I'll tell you when you're gonna top out in a little bit. And I think that's totally doable as a first time runner. Okay, increasing your mileage. This is where you are going to start to increase it, but you're probably going to increase it a little bit less. So maybe like 1 to 2 miles every week. So usually your easy runs will almost start to normalize during this phase, and your long run is just going to be increasing your weekly mileage. So your easy runs might be 3 to 4 miles as like a newer marathon runner, and I think that's fine. Eventually, you do want to kind of build up your easy runs to be a little bit more normal, but I think 3 to 4 miles honestly is fine as a new marathon runner. Okay, so that's your build phase. I don't know if I showed you this, but this is the build. You can take a picture. Okay. Let's move into the third phase of your training plan. So this is going to be your breakthrough phase. And like we said earlier, this has two meanings, which I love. This is when we really break through our training, and this is where we stack on a bunch of stuff, but this is where we have to be extra careful. So normally if we're going really fast, this is where if we're going for fast-paced stuff, this is where you're going to increase intensity. This is where we're going to add in race pace workouts. You're going to increase your mileage even a little bit more. You might add in a second workout, but honestly, for first-time marathoners, this is going to be pretty straightforward. So this is going to be weeks 10 through 14. And this, I'm going to also recommend that you add in a race. Now, I'm going to recommend the half, and I'll explain why I think you should do this. And that would be at like week 11 is about when I would have you do that to time out with when you're increasing yours. And then I'm going to add in workouts increase, and I'll explain that. So here's kind of the breakthrough. This isn't as intense as if you're going for like a really fast workout, because this is like your first time marathon. So it'll change a little bit in some other videos, but your 10 to 14 weeks, again, you're still increasing your long run every about like 2 miles. I did forget. This is something this is important. In your build and your breakthrough phase, you need to have a down week. And this is where you go down in weekly mileage, and almost you probably even want to take out your workout and just make it an easy run. And this is so that you don't get injured I would say every 4 weeks or every 3 weeks in your build and your breakthrough phase. So probably one each phase is when you go down in mileage. You could probably drop it about like, for you, I'd probably recommend like 5 miles overall. You can almost take like a mile or two off of your easy runs, off of your workout. Even your long run, you can go down. I don't always recommend that in the first phase, kind of just depending. But if you're feeling worn out, take advantage. If you're not feeling worn out, still take the down week, because this is preventative care, so that we're not managing an injury. We're like avoiding injury completely because we've taken our down week. So do that. With the race, I would recommend doing a half at week 11. You can kind of fiddle around with it around there, but this will kind of match up with like your 13 miler. And I think a lot of new runners make the mistake of like doing a marathon for the first time and not like having a build up race. So, and when you run competitively, you almost have like not a garbage race. I forget what we called it. But it's almost like a race where the goal isn't to PR. It's almost to just practice a hard effort, to practice race day, to show up, to like feel those nerves and kind of like do like a mock race day. And this is like even half. So you get to practice your fueling, which is another thing, honestly, we should talk about. You get to practice your fueling, you get to practice race day, you get to practice like pre-race day, all this other stuff. There's so much to marathon training. I would really recommend getting a private coach if you want to do well, but you could totally do it on your own. There's just like, I've been running for so long and there's just so much knowledge that like, since running from like 2008. So do a half marathon. It's really great practice. If you can't do that, even just doing like a 10K and just like pretending you almost did your 13 mile, then you can still go up. And this is when your workouts, you can start to do like the same workouts again, but like increase the reps or increase your speed. So if you're doing like 2 4-minute repeats, you can either do a faster pace. So like you're kind of like work harder during it, or you can, if you did like 6 to 7 4-minute repeats, the next time you might do 7 to 8 the next week. So yeah, for workouts, you want to solely increase the pace or the amount that you actually do. So that's your breakthrough phase. And then one other thing that I recommend during your build and your breakthrough is practicing your fueling. That's super important. I should make a video on that. If you want to comment down below, tell me to do that. That would be helpful. But your fueling, practice what you're going to eat, drink, if it's gels, if it's bananas, if it's a PB&J, if it's electrolytes, if it's like a starchy drink. Just practice what you're going to do on race day so that you can tell if your stomach's going to feel good. And it's even good to like practice your pre-meet day, the day before you race, like what you're going to eat and what feels good. So just stick to everything normal. Don't do anything like different before race day so that you kind of know how your body's going to feel. I think I'll do a feeling. Yeah, I need to do that one. That's probably very helpful. Okay, so that is your breakthrough phase. And this one, we do have to be really careful. Again, you're probably going to start to maintain your mileage, your weekly mileage, if possible, so that you don't burn out, you don't get injured. This is when you rarely kind of increase mileage. If you're more of a pro, you do it a little bit, you'd increase your mileage more. But if you're newer, I'd almost kind of pick one weekly mileage that feels good and just stick with that and just like put your energy towards harder workouts. The only other thing that if you feel like you're feeling really good, what I would recommend is marathon pace workouts. So within the middle of your long run, if you want to try it once or twice, you can. But starting your long run off like 6 easy miles, 8 easy miles, and then for like 3 miles, you could practice your marathon pace. So if you actually have a goal, let's say you want to hit 4 hours in the marathon, then you would go at like 9-minute pace, a little faster, just to like make sure we actually hit the barrier. You'd run at that pace for 3 miles, and then you might do 2 easy miles, and then you might do like another 2 miles at marathon pace, and then the rest easy. So that's kind of a fun one that you can kind of do, or you could do like 8 easy pace, 5 marathon pace, the rest easy. And you can kind of play around with that, and that just kind of lets your body practice race pace, so that when you get to marathon day, you almost are ready for that a little bit more. Okay, this video is so long. It's 20 minutes. Okay, this is very like a video. Okay, we're moving on. Burst phase. Okay, so this is the very last one. This is fun because this one we feel fresh and good. So this is going to be, I'm actually going to change this. I wrote this down wrong. Your last phase, I would probably go Okay, no, I'm going to keep this as is. Sorry. Okay, 14 to 18 weeks is about your burst phase. So this is when we kind of almost start to pull back. So I'm going to get really specific with their long runs. So at 18 weeks, that's when your actual marathon is. Okay. The taper, very, very important if you want to do well. 17 weeks out, you're going to do a 10 to 12 miler. You can even go a little bit lower if you feel like you need it. 16 weeks out, you're going to do about a 16 to 18 miler. And then week 15 is when you would peak at your longest run. And that would get you around 21 if you followed my plan. It could maybe be 22, it could maybe be 20. If you end up like skipping or missing a run, don't be afraid if it's still around like even 19. Like I still think you can do the marathon. You just won't have as much practice getting there. Okay. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is the actual taper, the actual burst phase, and that's going to be about 14 to 10 days out. Okay. You want to take a pick? This is your burst phase. Okay. So 14 to 18 weeks, this is the burst. This is when we kind of start to feel really good. And the goal isn't to like push hard or gain fitness. This is to like maintain and sharpen. People make the mistake of pushing too hard or pulling off the gas too much. And both of those can lead to you like blowing up and not doing well in your race. So the reason why I recommend the like 18 to 15 weeks, those long runs, is those kind of lead you up to like pulling back, but not pulling back too much. The 14 to 10 days is when you want to taper. If you were doing like a shorter run, you would taper a little bit less, but since we're more marathon, you almost want to start to taper a little bit further out. So about 2 weeks out from your race, you'll kind of start to pull back in mileage a little bit. You'll naturally just do that with your long run. You could probably keep your easy runs about the same. Your workout, your workout will go down a little bit. Your workout, what I recommend is 2 weeks out, picking your favorite workout and doing like really low reps and not as hard of a pace. You're not digging into the well, you're not digging into the pain cave. You're almost thinking like good form, feeling good, feeling fast, like having a good effort, but not like really, really hard. And then for the last week, that's when we really pull back our easy mileage. We maybe have a workout. I would recommend the workout being like 4 or 3 days out, but being very, very short. Maybe like a 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 fartlek, or maybe some ones. This you really shouldn't have to recover much from. It's just really, really feel good, not digging into the well. I would almost even cut out a workout and maybe just do strides. It's kind of up to you, how you've been feeling. But we want to pull back, but we don't want to like go from like, you don't want to skip run. You don't want to just all of a sudden take 5 days off when you've never done that, because then you're just like, you've tapered way too early. So if you pull back way too early, you taper way too early, and then marathon race day is hard. Okay, that wraps it up. Let me know if you have any questions, anything I didn't cover. I'm sure I missed something, but I can also do another video on more specifics. If you don't want to do this on your own, please let me know. I have a private coaching form that you can fill out. But I really hope this helped. And if you want to do it on your own, I wish you luck. Reach out if you do have any other questions. I'm happy to help. You can DM me on Instagram. So, okay, bye-bye.